What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to NFL Turf Talk here live on DSM Media's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and the DSM Media Turf Talk YouTube channel. The first time we are live on this channel. Guys, if you are new, please smash that subscribe button, turn on notifications for whenever we go live here or whenever we post a video. I'm one half of your host, Dylan Davis. To my right, my co-host, Scotty. The NFL season is 1 hour away from officially kicking off with the Detroit Lions taking on the Kansas City Chiefs as they drop or raise their Super Bowl banner. But my man, what is going on this Thursday night?
Cheers, man. Kickoff to the NFL season. I'm happy to be here. Happy to finally be here. Got a little bit of tequila in there and some strawberry lemonade. It's a little iced out now, but it's tasting real nice tonight, man. But
little tequila guy, huh?
Cheers. Happy to be here. Yeah, my girl has this thing for this cucumber jalapeno tequila. It comes like flavored. It's pretty good. It's pretty solid. It makes like margaritas easy to make, so it's good nonetheless. And I'm having a good drink tonight for this because been waiting a long time for some football to watch, and not preseason football, real football, the starters, the big names. So I'm excited, man. There's some big action to be had tonight. We got two high-powered offenses going at it, and I'm excited to see what this turns into. But nonetheless, I'm happy to be here for live Turf Talk show, ready to kick this season off for the first time this year, man.
Yeah, man. So, guys, like we said, feel free to drop your comments. Subscribe to the YouTube channel is the best spot to get your thoughts and questions pulled up here on the screen with us. But, Scotty, you mentioned lots of big names, right? The starters are out on full display tonight, but not without some hiccups. And the Kansas City Chiefs we're already going to be down Chris Jones, as obviously he's not reporting and a little disgruntled there in Kansas City. But now they are officially without their tight end and Travis Kelce tonight. He has officially been listed as out. And the first thing I'll throw to you, this is a smart move, right? Like, I get it. It's week one. Football's back. It feels like it's been forever. If you have Travis Kelce in fantasy, if you have Patrick Mahomes in fantasy, you're probably not too happy. However, if you're Andy Reid and this Chiefs organization and even Travis Kelce, you have to realize this is the smart and reasonable thing to do. Week one, this team has expectations of playing into February again. You do not send him out there with a hyperextended knee, a bone bruise on that same knee. You don't risk further injury for week one against the Detroit Lions, which I'll throw it out there to you again, is still a very winnable game for Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. When you're looking at this, we talked about it earlier on one of our earlier episodes, but Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in the week one matchups, virtually unstoppable. It's actually crazy. And I think part of it is because they come into each season and they probably insert a new style or scheme into their offense, right? And you lose Tyreek Hill, you have to change your offense a little bit. Tonight, you don't have Travis Kelce, you don't have Tyreek Hill still. You also lost your offensive coordinator over the offseason and Eric Bieniemy. So once again, we're going to see Patrick Mahomes in at least a new version of an Andy Reid offense. And I think that's a disadvantage to the opponent, not Patrick Mahomes, because you know that Patrick Mahomes is going to be in there studying the playbook, doing everything he can to make sure he has every single advantage that he can have on game day. So to that point, I think every week one matchup for the Kansas City Chiefs is an advantage to them because they are working with the best in the business in Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, man. It is interesting. I wanted to throw this to you because I took the liberty. You know, a lot of people talk about the Eagles' schedule, and rightfully so. It's one of the hardest in the NFL. But they're getting the number one seed schedule, right? So are the Kansas City Chiefs. They actually won the Super Bowl. So you look at their schedule this year, man. They obviously start the season against the Lions, who we both had the Lions making the playoffs in our brackets. They play the Jags. These are not in a row. These are just the games that they play against tough opponents. They play the Lions, Jags, Jets. Their division, obviously, the Raiders twice, Broncos twice, Chargers twice, Dolphins, Eagles, Bills, Bengals. That's almost every single contender in the NFL. So they're almost just they're about in the same boat as the Philadelphia Eagles when it comes to tough competition. So to that point, man, it makes this game just slightly important, right? Like when you're looking at the rest of the competition. But to your point, nothing is decided in week 1, and it is the right decision to ultimately sit out Travis Kelce. You don't have a choice in the Chris Jones matter, although I'll say this on camera finally. I've said it all over Twitter. I would pay him whatever he wants. He's the best defensive tackle in football, arguably. Why not just give him the money that he wants? I get it. You got to cut corners when you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes making the money that he makes.
Yeah.
But I don't think the trenches on defense is where you cut those corners. Wide receiver, weapons. You can do all you want there because Patrick Mahomes is that guy, but he does not affect the defensive line. You need your anchor in there. And I think as long as he's out, they're going to be hurting on defense, especially in the run game, man.
Yeah, no, Kansas City is already I don't want to say a weak unit, but Kansas City's strong suit is certainly not their defense, right? So you take away their best player, their game wrecker in Chris Jones. Yeah. Now that makes that unit that's already, a little rough. Look what the Eagles were able to do in a Super Bowl. Fortunately, they have Patrick Mahomes playing for them. It makes that unit even more vulnerable, right? So that's the issue there. The issue with not the issue, but the thing with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes week 1, right? Pat's 5-0 in openers in his career. He's never thrown an interception in week 1 in his career.
Insane.
And you mentioned how they're going to add things to their playbook. It's not even that they're adding things to their playbook for the season, Scotty. They're going to pull things out week 1 that we've never seen them do before.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Andy's that creative. Yeah. Pat's that creative, that talented, and there's at least going to be 3 to 5 scripted plays where the broadcasting crew is talking about what Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes just did here because they've never seen it before. You add that with the fact that the Lions were already dead last in run defense. Yeah. They were like 3rd or 4th to last in pass defense, which their pass defense improved over the course of last year. Sure. They improved it over the offseason. They brought in a guy like C.J. Gardner-Johnson. But it still begs the question, is it enough to slow down Patrick Mahomes? I said this to you earlier off air, right?
Yeah.
He has to be the only guy, the only quarterback in the league where you would look at this game and you would look at his wide receiving core and you would look at him down Travis Kelce and you would say, he's still going to win this game. He still can win this game. If it's anybody else, dude, highly respected quarterbacks, the second, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, go on and on and on. They would not be favored tonight. But because it's Patrick Mahomes, his team is still a 4-point favorite. Scotty, they have question marks all over the board, even with Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Like, who's your number one? Kadarius Toney, who you traded for in the midpoint of last year from the Giants, is he their number one now? Right. You got guys Sky Moore. You got the kid Justin Ross. I know people are excited about him, but he's still an unknown.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if it was any other quarterback with this receiving group, this defense, they would not be favored against the Lions team, who you, I, and everybody else seem to be pretty high on this year, expectation-wise. It's because of him, man.
No, you're spot on, man. There's no other quarterback that you could look at in that light and say that he can lift his team to those heights, right? Like he's done it. And it started last year when he lost Tyreek Hill and we're like, number one wide receiver, the fastest wide receiver in the NFL. He takes the top off the defense. Like he does everything that your offense needs in it. And they don't miss a beat. They win the Super Bowl. Like he wins MVP. Like Patrick Mahomes looks for these opportunities where it looks like he's at a disadvantage, and he loves to show everybody that there's never a disadvantage for Patrick Mahomes. Like the ankle in the Super Bowl, right? Like, oh my God, he can't even walk. Then he comes out in the second half and he's winning Super Bowl MVP. Like, you know what I mean? So like, this is the stuff I'm looking at. This guy always perseveres whenever there's doubt. There should be no doubt around Patrick Mahomes. He definitely won't be the reason that they lose this game tonight if they lose the game, right? But he'll definitely be the reason that they win it. And that's what comes with Patrick Mahomes. And, it started last season, right? He had the chip on his shoulder. And that's what I mean about looking for disadvantages, looking for reasons for people to doubt me. I'm going to come out here and beat the Detroit Lions tonight with an explosive offense of their own. I'm going to come out and beat them tonight without Travis Kelce, my number one option, the guy that I nonstop went to in the Super Bowl, right down the stretch last season. So I think he looks for these opportunities similar to last year, not having Tyreek Hill. On the other side of that, man, look at Andy Reid, right? There's a lot of talk about Eric Bieniemy and losing him on the offensive side of the ball.
Right.
He helps call plays, he helps design plays. He wasn't necessarily the main play caller, but he helped design them. He was a main part of that offense, right? You think Andy Reid doesn't want to prove that he was the guy? Like, these are the things that these people that are already at great heights, these legends like Andy Reid, like Patrick
Future
Mahomes,
Hall of Famers.
you have to look for new obstacles and new goals to reach. And whenever you get things like a Travis Kelce injury to start the season, that's a way for them to find other motivations. Same thing with Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, finding other motivation, things to get us going very early in this season after we just won our second Super Bowl together, right? So I'm excited for like all of those reasons, and just to see Patrick Mahomes do it again, right? Without all of his weapons. It's interesting stuff that the Chiefs have, and that's why they're at such a great spot, right?
No, I agree with you, man. And what's going on, man? We're going to be dropping our picks a little bit later on into the show. So stay tuned. Let us know who you got winning. Mrs. Scotty's got the Lions. Jared Goff with a big debut in week 1. What's going on, Adam? And now I wanted to bring up this point. So Adam has a Pat Mahomes and Jerick McKinnon anytime tutty parlay placed. I like it. But it brings up my next point to you. We focused on Mahomes. We focused on Kelce and the play calling. We haven't talked about the run game. We haven't talked about where the Detroit Lions defense are most vulnerable and struggle the strongest. That is against the run, right? Do you think Andy looks to I mean, you have a guy like Isaiah Pacheco, right? You have Jerick McKinnon on third down, who obviously is probably more of a pass catching back, but they'll utilize him in multiple ways.
Yeah.
How important is it for Detroit to really be effective against the run, man, tonight? Because my thing is this. I think that Kansas City can win the game regardless, but if you don't stop the run against this team, it doesn't matter who Mahomes has lined up out wide. Because the second you can't stop the run against Andy, it's going to open up everything else in their playbook, and Detroit's just sitting top.
Yeah, in order to beat the Chiefs, you have to start with like making sure that the run game is a non-factor in that game, right? Like when it comes to the Chiefs, if they're running the football, they're operating on all cylinders, right? Like that is not what you want to see is play action with Patrick Mahomes and you actually having to buy into that play action. Like, yeah, I feel you. I think that's one of the biggest keys tonight. And you look at what Detroit did in the offseason. They went out, they drafted Jack Campbell, right? Drafted a linebacker very early, maybe even earlier than what he was supposed to go. But you draft guys, you add guys to your roster like that. What'd you say?
I said, right, to help step up in the box and stop the run.
Exactly. And even brought in a Branch from Alabama, the safety, right? He's a in the box safety. He likes to come up and he likes to hit people. You get these type of guys to help with that. And same thing with even Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He gets up there, he gets involved in the run game. He will stop the run. He'll help there. So they've tried to address it. As you mentioned, they've gotten better over the course of the season last year defensively, and they just have to add on to that tonight. And you have to hope that your investments over the offseason pan out early because you're going to get the Super Bowl champions on week 1, right? Like it's not a joke. Aiden Hutchinson, man, that's a guy to keep your eye on tonight with the Detroit Lions in his second year. He had a monster year last year, and he's going to be eager. Anybody going against Patrick Mahomes, young guy like that, wants to get that sack. Say they sacked Patrick Mahomes. 100%. So I'll keep my eyes on him. But, yeah, it's going to be very key. I think you could list that as we're not doing, like, open keys to victory for the Lions, but I would say it starts there on the defensive end, stopping the run.
So I do want to get to the Lions offense in a second, right? Because there's a little bit of turnover there, especially in the running back room. But one last thing with their pass defense, with their defense and Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs is, as I said earlier in the show, Mahomes has never thrown a pick in week 1 in his entire career. I'm trying to figure out as I'm working through my game pick who I think is going to come away with a win here. I'm trying to work through the variables and how Detroit could steal a win on the road tonight. And they have to find ways to get off the field. And I'm not sure how they do that without causing a turnover or two.
Yeah.
Does Patrick Mahomes throw his first career interception in week 1?
That's a tough question to answer, man. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say, yeah, man. I think,
Yeah.
as much as this guy got on my nerves over the offseason, he's a ball hawk, man. He's gonna be out there looking to get
CGJ?
him. Yeah, hey, look, you got to look for motivation on the field, man. CGJ, he's a ball hawk. He led the NFL in interceptions at one point last year. I believe he had 6, which is obviously great from the safety position. But he was also part of that Eagles defense that lost in the Super Bowl, had that trophy ripped out of his hands. So he's got to come in here motivated tonight against to play against the Chiefs as well. And I think, yeah, Darius hit it on the head there. CGJ, man, I think he could be the guy. That little sneaky bastard, man. He could be the guy that gets that interception. I loved him here. Like, we've talked about this, man. That was like my most coveted free agent going into the offseason. Saw how he handled it, got on my nerves, totally dismissed him as, one of my favorite players. But he was fun to have in this team, man. For just one season, he really made his mark. And no reason in an uprising culture. I know it's not as great as the Eagles, but uprising culture the Lions have, he's going to fit in really well there. And I think making a play like that tonight could be, kind of his signature, his welcome to that team.
Well, I hear you. We have a couple of Phil chiming in with a Chiefs victory without Kelsey. We have a couple Lions. We have a couple Chiefs. Guys, keep dropping your picks and let us know who you like in the game tonight, man. Let's swing on over to Detroit's offense, right? Jared Goff's second year in this system. They go out. Obviously, DeAndre Swift is now a Philadelphia Eagle. Thank you very much. Yeah. They move on from the, rushing touchdown. The rushing touchdown leader is what I'm trying to say. And Jamal Williams, he moves over to New Orleans. Yeah, I just won. On over to New Orleans. But they bring in David Montgomery, right, from Buffalo. They draft Jahmyr Gibbs very highly on in this first round, which was kind of a punchline to a joke on draft night. But as you're seeing the summer develop and training camp and preseason, Jahmyr Gibbs is a name that's being talked about a lot tonight. Amon-Ra St. Brown looking to ascend to that higher level, be inside that top 10 conversation as a wide receiver. Maybe he already is, but looking to make his mark tonight, man. This Detroit offense is one that I believe led the league in points per game in the final 8 or 9 weeks last year. They averaged just under 30 points per game. How much success do you think they have tonight? And do you think it relies more on their rushing attack with that duo, or do you think it's a lot more through the air with Goff, even if it's involving the running backs like Gibbs, but a lot more through the air raid?
Man, I honestly think in order to beat the Chiefs tonight, they're going to have to come out very balanced. I think there's no one-sided answer to that. I think that's what it takes to beat the Chiefs. They're going to have to run the football to get the Chiefs defense off balance, because that defense is going to come out aggressive. They'll do a lot of blitzing, right? Playing in the box, testing Jared Goff. I think they'll start out like that, and they're going to have to be able to run the ball, but Jared Goff is also going to have to be able to make the right decisions, and that was a key for him last year, man. You talked about, what they did last year, kind of what they added in this season, which, loved Jamal Williams, hated it for DeAndre Swift fantasy purposes last year, but you talk about an upgrade. I think David Montgomery is an upgrade. They paid top dollar for him, but when the financial implications aren't included in this analysis, right? It's just about what he's putting on the field, and I think he can be that Jamal Williams for their team. And Jahmyr Gibbs, if nothing else, can be the DeAndre Swift for their team. If not better, he obviously doesn't have the injury history that a DeAndre Swift comes with, but we'll see how it works. I'm excited for Gibbs tonight, but more importantly, I am looking at Jared Goff because he is coming off a great season, if not his best season in his career last year, with over 4,400 passing yards, 65% completion, 29 touchdowns, 29 passing touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. It was interesting. There was a conversation that arose the other day because he's talking about getting an extension in Detroit right now. And I think it was Dove Cleveland.
I know who you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, you know who he is. But I saw him talking about it, and he pointed out some interesting stats since Goff was traded to the Lions and Stafford to the Rams. Now, obviously, Stafford got the ring, so that disqualifies all of this as far as Goff being better than him or something. Yeah. But he does have more passing yards, more passing touchdowns, less interceptions, so on and so forth than Stafford since arriving to the Detroit Lions, which, not to diss Stafford, it's really just to prop Goff up for his excellent season last year, and show how well he's meshing. But I am interested to see tonight not only Goff, but that connection with Amon-Ra St. Brown. You mentioned it, top 15
fantasy boy
type of receiver. Yeah, man. And he does everything, right? Like, there's multiple ways you can get him involved into a game. So he's not just a receiver that catches the ball downfield. You can run screens with him. You can run him in the slot. There's a lot of different things you can do with Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I'm interested in his ascension. Jahmyr Gibbs, though, I think he is the guy to watch on their offense tonight, though.
Yeah.
He's the unknown, right? He's the question mark. We don't know what he is in the NFL yet, but there's a lot of hype around him, man.
100%, man. Let's get into some gambling right before we get into our game picks, because with Thursday Night Football comes wagering money, right? And obviously, as Adam said earlier on, he's got a parlay of Mahomes and McKinnon touchdown together. D-Rab here, he's got a Pacheco rushing touchdown tonight, so that's plus money. Everybody, I have not looked at the odds since they officially announced Travis Kelce is out, but earlier today, Travis Kelce was the only prop set at minus. He was minus 125 for an anytime touchdown. Everybody else was plus juice. So I don't know if it's still continued that way, but it's a good night for touchdown scores, especially with these two defenses looking the way they are, with these two offenses, with Patrick Mahomes. It's looking like a high scoring kind of night. I'm wondering who to go touchdown wise, Scotty. So let me ask you.
Every single player is plus money here. Yeah.
No, okay, interesting. So you mentioned the comparison between Williams and Swift versus Gibbs and Montgomery now.
Yeah.
Do you think David Montgomery, obviously the bigger, stronger back, the veteran, do you think he's the goal line back? Do you think he's inside the 5 and Gibbs is more on passing downs and stuff like that? Because I'm sitting here, who do I want to go with, right? I feel in my gut like Gibbs could have a night tonight in his debut. Yeah. But also, if the Lions get first and goal at the 3, are they bringing in David Montgomery and he's the guy to go with for an anytime touchdown tonight?
I do think ideally that would be the way they use them going forward, similar to the way they used their backs last year, as you mentioned. But I do feel you on the opening night type of thing. You want to use your exciting new toy, right? Not to say that David Montgomery, it's a new team, but Gibbs is that exciting new toy, that dynamic weapon. And to that point, man, I don't know. I'm leaning Gibbs personally because I haven't been fantasy. But ideally, I do think, you use David Montgomery as that power back in the goal line sets. But tonight, I think they could do things a little differently. Overall, if I was giving advice, man, I would probably say stay away from it. I'm not going to lie to you.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, I would probably say stay away from it tonight.
Stay away until we see how they want to operate. And I'm not saying 1 week determines that, but it's a good barometer of what they're going to do moving forward. If David Montgomery checks into the game every time inside the 5 or 10 yard line, you kind of know he's the goal line back moving forward, just like Jamal Williams was for them last year. But if I go and do it tonight and all of a sudden, Amon-Ra gets tackled at the 2 for first and goal, and I have a David Montgomery touchdown and the rookie checks in, I'm going to be livid, man.
I'm going to be sick. I'm going to be sick. Yeah, no, I do feel you. I think it would be one of those situations where Gibbs, if he does score, right, it would be similar to that DeAndre Swift fashion. Maybe they're like right outside the 10, screen to Gibbs and get him in the end zone. But I don't know. It would make sense. It would be really inconsistent of them to use them differently than they use the backslash, just because I think they both fit that role, each role that was designated last year as well for each of those backs. So it'll be interesting. That's something to keep an eye on. But yeah, I would lean to stay away from that backfield just for tonight, just until we figure that out. I think both backs will be heavily involved throughout the night, right? But it's hard to say who's going to be in there in the red zone.
Same thing with the Chiefs kind of for me, man. Like Pacheco is the guy, but McKinnon finds the end zone all the time for this team. It's one of those frustrating pieces gambling wise. But go ahead, what were you saying?
No, I was actually going to go to that point. It's a great point you brought up. I was going to point to Adams, his comment earlier about McKinnon. I do like McKinnon tonight. I think when you're the Chiefs, as much as I said they implement new things into their scheme, it's also one of those situations where if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? And this guy scored 9 receiving touchdowns last year. No Travis Kelce. I think he gets in the end zone tonight. I think he is one of the guys that Patrick Mahomes will obviously trust from the jump tonight, right? Takes time to build that trust in game, in season, but I think he's one of those guys that gets that trust early tonight. But the thing with like Chiefs targets, right? Like outside of the running game, if you want to lay Pacheco, I'm not going to be against that. If they get inside the 5-yard line, they're probably going to give it to Pacheco. He's going to get in there. But when it comes to like targets for Patrick Mahomes, I'm not touching any of these guys tonight.
What
honestly,
third string tight end is scoring tonight? Inside the
right.
5.
It won't be Noah Gray. It'll be the guy behind him, Bell. I can't remember his name, Blake Bell or something like that. It'll be the second string, third string tight end, right? That rather than Noah Gray. So yeah, I wouldn't touch that. The Russian touchdown from Mahomes, that's interesting.
Always interesting. Always.
I wouldn't lay it, but it's interesting. I'm curious what.
I'll come out and tell everyone what I have right now, and obviously but my lays for the night it's very simple. It's very business oriented. And before we get to our picks, it's going to be pretty funny because it kind of goes against my game pick. I do have, so if you are on DraftKings, as you know, they are doing the early payout again for the first week of the season and hopefully beyond. But tonight, bet either side of the money line. And if your team goes up by 7 or more at any point in the game, you win and you're paid out immediately. So it is capped. Obviously, I have $100 cap. Everyone, it might be different, but the Chiefs just don't make sense. I mean, if you're going to use that max, it doesn't make sense to lay the Chiefs. I love the high-powered offense of the Lions. So I do have the Lions money line, not in terms of hoping they can win, but in terms of them getting up 7, hopefully, with a shot to win, right? So it's not like they'll be out of the game if they don't. But I had the Lions money line with the early payout on DraftKings. And then I also had the Lions over 2.5 team touchdowns. So I was looking at that, and the Lions team total in points was under 23.5. I sat here and I'm like, look, man, if they're going to score 24 or more, they're going to score 3 touchdowns, right? Like they're not scoring 2 touchdowns and kicking 5 field goals today, right? Yeah. So if they're going to do that, touchdowns, and then with that, maybe they only score 20 or 21 with a missed extra point, and I get the 3 touchdowns anyway, but they don't score 24. So I went a little bit lighter on the juice with the touchdowns compared to the total points.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, you already know I'm tailing you on the Lions early win. I think we can sit here and we can say like the Travis Kelce injury and Chris Jones not being there. It doesn't mean the Chiefs are going to lose, but it does mean that the Lions have a very good chance.
A lot more intriguing.
Exactly. And to your the over 2.5 touchdowns for the Lions, I mean, they score the rock. Like they do score the rock. We saw it week 1 last year. They will come out and score the football. So I like that play. I'm looking at this parlay that I laid here. Now, I said stay away from the Detroit running backs, but this is a $10 risk free, so we can touch it now. Like I'll get the $10 back if I lose. But I'm actually so I'm following your lead in a sense here. So I'm going ultimately I'm going to lay that early win, the 7-point early win for the Lions, cash that out early, hopefully. And I am laying $10 extra on Kansas City Chiefs to cover the spread and Jahmyr Gibbs to score. So I am waiting on the odds for McKinnon to add that to him. Last time I checked, he wasn't available just because of the Travis Kelce update. Right. So I'm waiting on the odds to figure that out. But just the Chiefs covering and Jahmyr Gibbs pays out $52 on a $10 bet. So nice odds. If it loses, you get your $10 back. Who cares? You get 1 a day each of the NFL days this week. So
very generous, right? Very generous.
Worth shooting my shot. But yeah, I like the early payout with the Detroit Lions. I think that's my favorite one tonight because it's as simple as them coming out and scoring on the first possession, them getting ball first and scoring on the first possession, and boom, we cash out. We'll see how it plays out though. There's no better night to lay it.
Here we are. With that said, look, man, I said it and I kind of spoiled it. My Lions picks go against, they're contradictory to my game pick. Obviously, you have the early payout as well.
Yeah.
Well, you alluded to the fact that you have the Chiefs covering the spread. So I think it's very simple of where we're going here with our game picks. This kickoff the 2023 season. I have the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Detroit Lions tonight. I do think the Lions have a chance, man. I do think they're real this year. I do think they win their division and are a playoff team. You think they're a wild card team, which is still a step up, way a step up from where they've been. I really like their offense, and I know Chris Jones and Travis Kelce aren't here.
Yeah.
I ain't bet. Well, I mean, I technically am betting against it, but I'm not picking against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in week
Not
one.
for a full game. No, I feel you, man. You see by my parlay that I'm looking to lay, and mind you, I just added that Jerick McKinnon touchdown. It brings it up to plus 950. So
Hey, now.
Shoot your shot. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm all about tonight anyway. It's the first night of the NFL season. It's time to shoot your shot. But I am going with the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously, not only to win, but cover that 4.5 spread. I think it moved down a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
It's at 4 now. Yeah, it's 4.
It's still giving me 4.5 on the parlay. So I guess it's giving me a little bit of wiggle room there. But nonetheless, I do expect Kansas City. If they're going to win, they're going to cover, I would imagine. But nonetheless, I'm not ruling the Detroit Lions out tonight. I'm just having a little fun with my money. But I'm not ruling the Detroit Lions out by any means. As you mentioned, we expect them to elevate up. Yep. This would be a little bit over expectation, I would say, if they were able to win this game. But nonetheless, good stride to build confidence going forward. If you can beat the Chiefs week 1, if you can beat Patrick Mahomes week 1, who can't you beat, right? Like, so, hey, go out there and try to win it, man. But I got the Chiefs, man. You gotta have faith in the Super Bowl champs 2 times.
No, I agree, and we know that up close and personal from the team on my chest. Not to underestimate Patrick Mahomes at any given point. Injury, down 10 in the Super Bowl twice, doesn't matter. He'll do it to you. But guys, that is going to wrap up the first Thursday live stream of the NFL season. We'll be live here every Thursday around 7 p.m. to break down that Thursday night matchup and get into some other NFL talk as well. Like I said, keep an eye on the DSM Turf Talk YouTube channel. Subscribe, turn on notifications, whatever you got to do. We post videos throughout the week, and we'll be going live Thursday nights and Sunday morning, this upcoming Sunday, 10, 11 a.m. We haven't decided yet, but going live to break down that Sunday slate, talk some gambling, talk everything like that. So make sure you're plugged in to the DSM Turf Talk channel. For myself, for Scotty, for DSM, go enjoy the game, go win some money, and have a great rest.